Hey, good morning. It's Thursday, August 6th. Great to be with you this morning. We're going to continue in our thinking on Psalm 25, and we've covered more than half in terms of the verses involved, but we've got three more short sections which we're doing this next half of this week, and today, tomorrow, Lord willing, on Saturday. What I'm struck by as I read this psalm is the honesty of God and the kindness of God by telling us the truth. And so often we want to gloss over things that are hard, or we don't want to act like things are going to be a challenge to us. But that's not what David does. It's not what the Holy Spirit wants for us. If we cannot embrace God in the hard times, we cannot know him fully in the good times. We have to embrace him, see him with us there. As you recall in Psalm 23, David says, "You are with me in the dark valleys." So it's not that the dark valleys aren't there. They are there, but God is with us. And that's how they become green pastures, by him being with us. So there is this strong honesty in this psalm, and these next three verses in particular, that as commentator Dale Ralph Davis says, sometimes we don't want to look at. But we must look at them, if we are to know the beauty of what it means to walk in God and trust. Verse 15, "My eyes are continually toward Yahweh, for he will bring out my feet from the net." The net is when you're ensnared, animals ensnared in the net, and they can't get out. Well, if I'm looking to Yahweh, he will rescue me. And there's a confidence there. And we see this back and forth in the psalm, where there will be a great confidence about he knows he can trust God, and then followed by, "Help, I'm in trouble." And that happens here as well. So my eyes are continually toward Yahweh, just like Jehoshaphat says, we don't know what to do, but our eyes are on you. Well, again, that theme is repeated here. My eyes are continually toward Yahweh, for he will bring out my feet from the net. Then verse 16, "Turn to me and show grace to me, for I am alone and afflicted." So you see this great trust in verse 15, followed by this affliction and terror, really, in verse 16. He feels alone. He knows God is there, but in terms of things in this world, he needs God's grace, and so he calls out for it. He acknowledges that. And then these troubles that he faces in verse 17, "They have enlarged the troubles of my heart." In other words, my insides, in the Hebrew, that's my gut, I'm upset. These pressures, these enemies have enlarged the troubles of my heart. Bring me out of my difficulties. This is our life. It's true. Davis makes this comment about this psalm in this particular set of verses, these three verses. Sometimes in the middle of the nexus of trust and trouble, where these things come together, where they meet, the trouble will intensify and multiply. We don't like to talk like this, at least not in church. But sometimes when we trust, verse 15, the trust, and pray, verse 16, "Lord, help me," things get much worse. Verse 17, "They've enlarged the troubles of my heart." God hasn't gone away. He's still there with us. He's still protecting us. He's with us in the dark valley. So even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid, for you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff protect me and comfort me. See, there's this balance that we need to hang on to. Sometimes the troubles get worse, but God doesn't change. God's grace is with us. God's grace is there in whatever proportion is necessary to get us through that times when our hearts are overwhelmed. So there's an honesty in the psalm that brings hope. See, he's not hiding. He's not saying, "Hey, it's going to get better, don't worry about it." He's saying, sometimes it's not going to get better right away. I can remember some times in my life when things have been hard, and there's a period of time where you just have to trust God, and you know he's there with you in the dark valley. Sometimes it doesn't get better right away. After Ruth died, I would go to bed knowing that she's not going to be there the next morning. Does that mean that God had abandoned me? Or does that mean that God has something very special for me to learn that night? And when I wake that next morning, even though she wasn't there, God was there. That's what David is trying to tell us in Psalm 25. He is there and he comforts us. The next two sections are give us hope in the middle of this, but we are all on this journey, and if that journey is not a journey of hope, then we will be torn apart by all the things around us. But if it's a journey of hope, then God is with us in that dark valley, and we can rest in peace. And that's the thought this day from Psalm 25. Lord bless you and keep you, and we'll see you tonight. Bye-bye.